Just so you know, hand video. Hey. Oh, we're not video, just talk. Okay, so Estella, we're gonna start with the roll call and then we're gonna see if you would like to entertain public comment.
Okay,
So we'll just ask and get a consensus for that once you've done roll call.
okay. My name's Estella Murphy and I'm the Chair of the Arts Committee, and we're gonna do a roll call and then we'll begin our meeting. So Jennifer Edwards, Candy's here.
Here.
I'm here. Lori Paul,
Here.
Nina, and Mayor Christopher.
That's it. Okay.
And then, do I have an entertain a motion to have public comment? I have a motion and a second.
Yep.
And we have public comment?
Start public comment.
That would be great.
Okay, I'm Dave Alba. I own what is now the Dizzy Hen building.
Okay.
And I wanted to propose a mural which will technically be on the neighbor's building. I'll show you pictures, but I want to propose a mural, and I talked to Christopher whether there would be any funding to help on this mural. And I have pictures of what the proposal would look like. So the Dizzy Hen, the front of the building, and then the back, there's a garden in the back. And that wall is actually the Jason Leonard's building, the gym that faces onto 13th. And that's the wall I'm talking about. And Jason has given approval for the project and went ahead and painted a base coat down so that it would be protected and ready for a mural. So it's now ready. I've been talking to all the neighbors and businesses and getting their support, which I have. And my vision was, and I have talked to an artist, was to bring some indigenous representation to the community through art. And so I've been talking with a select artist about a mural there. Aaron Case has done the murals. His latest mural was at the Silet's Community Health Clinic, where he took, and I know, I can get closer, but he did a big thing at the health clinic with women, his grandchild, middle-aged, like a mother and a grandmother. And I can bring it around more, but I think the more interesting thing to look at is the mock-up that he did for me.
Okay.
I have 3 mock-ups, and I have the preferred mock-up, which is a steel head. Sure. A steel head with, and with a Silet's basket weave pattern to bring in the Silet's character, and then the Athabascan word for steel head. I guess I can see it. Got it. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about. There were other images, but I thought that he did one. It's bigger, which means it's more expensive, and doesn't have the colors. And then he has one like this with the colors. And this idea, a bigger fish, the basket weave. These are basket weave, Silet's basket weave patterns. Again, with the name fish and the water. So that's the image. I don't know what the process is. I had mentioned this to Christopher as a proposal, and maybe there's a formal proposal, and maybe you can guide me on what you would need. I'd be looking for, the cost is going to be around $5,000. Depending on the size, it's a simple $50 a square foot pricing, is the way it works. I'd be willing to match, if the city had funds, and then I would match the city funds with personal and community funds, fundraising.
Could we get copies? Because what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to probably write a proposal because it'll have to go to city council for approval. And so if we could get a picture of that plus the artist's name, and your proposed location and things.
Yeah.
We would need it like hard copy for the council.
Yeah,
Because we can approve stuff all we want, but we're not gonna get any money, because that all comes through city council.
sure.
So, is there a way that maybe you could submit that and then we could,
Yeah, what I wanted to add further though, just to pump the brakes, even though I know you've talked to the mayor, he's told me about all your conversations. The
Yeah.
art committee has been working pretty tirelessly on public art plan.
Yes.
Which they're talking about tonight. One of the sections that we have talked about having in there, it came up at our last meeting, was to have a section for, art that's on private property but publicly viewable. So we do have that criteria. I anticipate that we'll get through that section at the very least, not that the plan is fully adopted. So my concern just as staff is that we don't have that solidified. The council has not solidified that, but, we also don't want to pass by a potential project that might be more timely if it's handled before the adoption. So I think the best bet is if you can directly email me. You can find me on the website. My email address is in there. And send me what you showed tonight. Just, give me your info, whatever info, like Estella said is relevant. And then let me just see internally with staff and kind of talk to the mayor about how they want to handle that, because
Yes, sure.
we're in this little interim period, so to speak, but yeah, I think that's probably the best bet. And then if we get the go ahead that let's just go with the language that we currently have in here and run through that process, great. But like Estella said, it's a little bit up to the council on if they want us to be proceeding with procuring art before we've adopted the plan. So, but I think, yeah, I think that's probably the best bet. Just send me what you have and we'll go from there.
What is your email?
and I would like to comment that it's a lovely idea. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
I think on the top of the agenda, her email is listed there.
Okay.
Yes.
Grab it.
Yeah, you can take one of those. You can even, yeah, okay.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
that's all right.
Okay, forgot that my email's on there. Thanks, it's on the black and white page there at the top.
I have a quick question. Is there a time crunch for any reason on this?
Only because it's paint and exterior weather.
Right.
Oh, so it has to be done before it starts, the rainy season sets in?
Yeah.
Aha,
Yeah.
okay.
That's,
Uh-huh.
so if we don't get it, if we don't get
Approved
to
by-
it by September,
September.
Then it'll
we
be-
have to cycle it up to the next year.
Yeah,
And the only reason, I would attempt to push is so that the artist can get paid soon.
Sure.
But that's,
Yeah, and you can, if you just want to include that when you send that to me.
Yeah.
Wha-
And-
Whatever information you think is relevant, then
what I showed you has all
Great.
the.
perfect.
Yeah, and the timeline for the paint to be drying and curing
Yeah.
is very pertinent.
Yeah.
So like if it would, like sooner than later, that would be something, because even if we had an Indian summer and he got started in September, that might not give it enough time for the paint to cure and be able to make it through the winter.
Yeah.
So, that's just my concern for right now as a painter. I think that we may not be able to get that deadline for this year,
Yeah.
and it may have to wait till spring. But I certainly hope you don't give up and that you submit that, because I think that that would just add so much. Because I miss the old picture that was up on the Dizzy Hen.
Yeah.
Because I do Pokemon Go, and it's one of the Pokestops, and it still has the picture of the old mural that was on the building.
Yeah.
And I have been hoping that we could get another mural.
Yeah.
And so this is like really awesome. So, but, you know, but please follow up and
I will.
get that information to Chelsea as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Because,
And
you know,
Yeah, and as you know, like the public visibility from 13th now is only increasing.
Yes.
And now with.
I've had so many good things from, I stood out on the piece of art that's just a kitty corner from here on Saturday, and I handed out probably 15 of the little flowers I had. And I've since then been able to give it, I just got hired on to drive CTS for Corvallis, and we do the Philomath Connection. And so I've been giving the drivers the extra flyers that I had, so that when they come into town, they can be looking for the new art. And so I think that it would just be an added plus. I don't think there's any other than we get the money.
Sure.
I mean, the other parts of it are like very timely and awesome, and I'm really glad that you came and shared this with us.
Thanks for listening to.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Right, I'll get that.
And of course, you're welcome to stick around and hear the whole meeting, but we do understand if you have other engagements.
With-
All right.
Just hear about it after.
All right,
Yeah.
that's good.
I would have come and told you asked you to hire a human statue to stand.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a way to promote
Yeah,
the
that
work.
would be-
I'd been on the committee
Yeah.
a year ago.
Look at that.
Suggested that.
That's a fun idea.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. It was
Okay.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank
Thanks
you, Dave.
for all you're doing.
Okay, now we're back to our meeting agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes from April 2nd and May 28th? Any motions? Do I have a second?
Sure.
Lori
Looks
seconds.
good.
Thank
And
you.
then don't forget to vote. Then let
Oh.
everyone vote.
And then we have a show of hands on who approves? I take it there's no nays because all the hands are raised. And then we're gonna move on to the public art plan.
Yeah. So there is a plan in this, but we're actually working off of this plan that's highlighted. So I took your feedback, talked about last time. I think we made it through donations of art, mostly, but we have had some information that was added in there. So I did put a note on page 12 of where we ended. But I did want to go through the additions, and there's a couple deletions, just briefly to look at what went on in this section. So on the front page is the art on private property. We talked about that at the last meeting. I put some language in here that I found from not quite this application, but more there are cities that require developers to place publicly facing art at private developments, like larger cities. So this is a little bit taken from that. But the criteria is essentially that it's fully viewable from publicly owned property at all times. So I think if the city is considering any kind of funding or grant, going out, helping to go after grants, that it is important that piece, whatever it is viewable, preferably accessible by the community. So it does have also a preference for the types of property that would go on. Just really the only one that's not on there is kind of like a single family residence or like a duplex situation. So the other types of current zoning are on there. So high density residential, if it were on an apartment complex, well, that was very viewable, or commercial or industrial properties. Again, it's not anything that's set in stone, so it does leave some flexibility because as Stella pointed out, I believe the council would have a pretty, they would want to heavily weigh in on whether or not we were considering that. So it does say it would need to receive city council support for the art committee to review that, because I wouldn't want to commit staff time, researching and interacting with someone if the council were not supportive of us proceeding.
I was just looking at this. It says the city will assist in determining whether a piece and its proposed location would benefit the community before it is reviewed by the Public Art Committee.
Right,
So the sequence of events there is actually that the city sees it first, right?
right.
Yeah.
And the reason
Uh-huh.
why is because it is funding. We
Yeah.
know if there's funding. I mean, if there is no funding available, or if the council has said to us, stop on art funding altogether, we will know that as staff, so that it's just it's an easier review for us. It's typically how things do come through anyway. They usually come to city staff, but that way we can kind of review it before we push it out to the council and ask the council. So it would need to come to staff in order to get to council and be presented.
I assumed from him referring to, that we just experienced, he referred to having visited with Mayor Christopher. So I'm assuming that the city did review.
No, the mayor has only spoken to him, so it has not gone through council review or approval yet. So for that particular thing, I will talk to the mayor. I did text him a little bit today with some things that, I don't want to say that they're concerns, they're just thoughts that I had. One is, if you have a business owner approach you, it's an amazing, beautiful mural, don't get me wrong, it's great. But you have one business owner approach, well, what if they put that up and then the business owner across the way said, well, I didn't know
Yeah.
that we could apply for city funds and
Yeah.
project help. And then I say, oh, sorry, that was all the money that we had to do that. So I'm a little concerned about not having, like, if we were going to do that, it might be better that we did something like we do with facade grants for businesses.
Yeah.
We open it up, we have a facade grant process, here's the criteria, here's the review. And so that concerns me just a little bit, that
That's an excellent
kind of
idea.
fairness
But
thing.
yes, to make it open.
Yeah.
The people in the
Yes.
general community know
Yes.
that this is a possibility.
Right.
Before you're like, oh, the money's gone.
Yes, but I do think it's great because obviously the city is limited on, like, murals, right? We only have a certain amount of publicly viewable buildings and walls that the city owns. So that's a perfect example of a way that we may want to put some funds into bringing more art into places that we might not otherwise have it. So those are things that I do want to talk maybe to the mayor and city manager and council, and like, how do we want to proceed with this? But I will bring up that we've been approached and, kind of let them decide what they want to do for that circumstance. So any other thoughts about the art on private property? Like I said, I tried to leave it kind of open so that we can create a process that would work rather than being very detailed at this point, because we don't really have a lot of details at this point on how we would do that.
I think it's a really good verbiage for a skeleton to build on, so.
Okay.
Chelsea,
Yes.
did you receive my email? Probably not,
I did.
because it was 4:30.
I did not.
Okay. No, it's okay. I was late, and did not have this in my brain, this meeting in my brain this week because I have company from out of state, from
Okay.
across the country.
Oh, I
and
get
so
that.
I've been a little distracted, but I know that I had said that I would draft some criteria for selection criteria. I sent that to you, but not till 4:30. So
Okay, what we can do is bring that back in the next meeting, so I can kind of incorporate
mhm.
it where it would go, and we can look at it the next meeting if you want.
Yeah, and I did suggest some language for this, the next section about commissioned works of art, but I like what you've done with it. And so you can disregard that as my email.
Okay, because I know we did talk through
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yes, so if we go to, commissioned works of art, I did have donations, I added a little bit about, I, I added a little bit about funding, just so that we do always want to be considering that, but one of the things that the plan, as it was, signified was if it didn't come with funding, we don't want it, and it really felt like that across the board.
Yeah.
And we're a small community, I think that there are going to be circumstances where we might say, that's an amazing piece, you're donating something that's $20,000, can we, as the city, commit to maintaining it? So we wanted to leave that open.
Yes, I like that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and then I also, changed the example under
Yeah.
commissioned works of art to something that seemed a little more
Yeah.
Willamette, like something you could understand here.
Yeah.
I did, under the donation procedure, I removed budget because it does an overall, the criteria for acceptance of donation does sort of note that
Mhm.
the costing may be
Maintenance, yeah.
considered. So I
Mhm.
think it was duplicate information.
Great.
Okay. Exceptions for the review process that had come up. I believe the mayor had asked why it said anything about jurisdiction in 10 months, and that's just not applicable to us, so I removed it. We also talked about acceptance of gifts, not making it prohibitive to people who may not have a bill of sale, so I think we can work on, we could obviously say, looks like that is actually yours. You have pictures of yourself with that art for, your whole life or whatever. And then also contribution of the agreed amount or a waiver by the city. So again, that leaves us flexibility to waive that requirement, set a requirement, negotiate a requirement. Okay, and then I did under, accession. We talked about that last time and said we should remove it, but then I researched it, and that is the term for art museums. That's the term. So I kind of said, will this term fit or will this term fit? And they said, do not use that term. That is not a term. So I just made an executive decision and said, fine, we'll keep that. Hopefully our descriptors are easy enough for people to understand. Okay, so for that, I did also put the council review, because that is something that the council does want to do, but that I also opened it up to, there may be something that the council says, they do this with the park board a lot, where the park board doesn't really have authority to make a decision, but the council says, we don't need to pick swing colors, let the park decide what swings should be there and pick the colors. So I've just put that statement in here, just similar. Okay, on page 11, artist contracts, I said I was going to review that. I don't like those specifics. Contract language changes often. Attorneys and our insurance agents change what they want us to put in contracts all the time.
Right.
So I just left it very vague that we will have contracts, because I think that's important, but it'll be whatever current contract template is.
Before you
yes.
pass that section,
Yes.
may I interject here for page 11 about balance of local and non-local artists? I did address this in my proposed language for selection criteria, and just in terms of us preferring and prioritizing local artists, local to the region,
Mhm.
and that non-local artists might be considered if the artwork matches the content and thematic selection criteria. And so I'm wondering if maybe we don't need that paragraph, if we were to adopt that. I mean, it's just something for, as you consider those, to reflect back on this paragraph, because I have a preference to strongly prefer local artists, local to the region, and not, and maybe not even consider non-outside region artists.
Mhm.
And so I'm not interested in making a balance when we have a small city.
Right.
Between local and non-local.
The
That's my
concern that we're
personal-
going to have is public procurement and use of public funds. So that's where
Okay,
we as a city will get into some potential issues because when you exclude entire groups, and there are caveats to it. So like even the state has preference rule, like
Yeah.
preference for women and minority owned businesses. They have very stringent rules that are set for that. So I think we can find a balance somehow there, or a balance in our process somehow. But we do want to be cautious. I can also ask our legal team about it. I have a lot of public procurement experience, and I've done some art selection, but I don't extensively have art public procurement experience. So let's continue to look at that and talk about how we can work on that,
yeah,
so that it's.
maybe we don't need,
On a merit system, local artists could get a higher merit
Right.
because of their being locality.
yes,
But with discrimination laws and stuff, to limit it from like, if we want Oregon art,
Right.
just name it Oregon art, but then you have to open it up to Oregon artists, not people that are living in California but are making art for Oregon. Does that make sense?
understood. I wasn't suggesting limiting, actually. I'm aligned with what you're saying. I just wasn't sure this section was so necessary.
Right. No, I get that. Okay. And you submitted some comments
Yeah.
about that. Okay. And we'll bring those to the next
So we
meeting so
can-
that everyone can see them. Okay. But I get what you're saying, and I see the importance of
Yeah, not
making
excited.
sure that we have opportunities
Yeah.
here locally. Yes. So we'll work on how to make that happen.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then I did put a little section about purchasing art that's been on loan. So like, let's say one of these pieces that's temporarily here, or no, that's listed for sale. Sorry, that's the wrong section. That the artist can list it for sale. The current pieces that are there, we did allow that in our call for artists, but that they have to keep the piece here, and it needs to not be transferring the owners. Like, we shouldn't be as a city. Now, it's actually this person bought it, so you need to have insurance requirements with them, and we don't want to be doing that. So that's just a statement for that. And that's where we ended last time. So let's see, we're doing okay for time so far. So we now have the generation of revenue section. I don't know if anyone has anything to say about that, but it basically is just saying that the art committee is going to try to help with that, find ideas, help. When we have grants and things, city staff has to fill that out on behalf of the city. However, sometimes people can help with information or find them, so that's just committing to helping with that as many members. The removal section is kind of extensive. However, the way that I look at it is, let's say that someday there's some city employee B that's just like, I don't really like public art and I don't like that. And so I do think that it kind of has that criteria for, in a worst case scenario, if you had an art committee that just said, you know what, let's rip everything out and start over, that there's something here that sort of protects what's been done in the past. while still recognizing that sometimes, art pieces are going to, wear out or become, and it does have some public objection overwhelming. As we know, art is often objected to. We've already had some comments about the art pieces that, because it happens.
Sure.
Art makes people discuss things
It
and
does.
sometimes. So, does anyone have anything kind of in that, kind of criteria for removing a piece that sticks out to them?
Something stood out to me here.
Okay, so page 14, loans from the collection. I don't read, I thought about this. Are we ever going to do that? But then I thought, well, maybe if our program grows and Corvallis loves something and says, hey, can we borrow that? So I did leave it in there as you never know, that could happen. I think right now it feels like we're just trying to get pieces to stay here. We don't want to loan them out.
Right.
So it's kind of do we need to have it in there at this point? Is it just taking up extra space, or should we just leave it in case for the future?
I think we should keep it for the future. I don't think it's pertinent now, but I don't think it would hurt.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I agree.
Okay. But
I'm hoping.
We have incredible artists here. It's
I know.
very likely that this
Yeah.
could happen.
yes, and that's kind of
Yep.
was my thought,
Yeah.
I did eliminate the gallery art rental program. It's clear that the plan that this came from, that they have public galleries, so they may have large city halls, community centers where they have revolving public galleries. We do not have that, nor really the space. If we did in the future, that's something that we could add on, but it was a lot. It was a very extensive policy for something that another city has had happening for a long time.
So this one here, strike it?
Yes, so I just did strike that whole section.
My
It just,
copy doesn't have it.
oh, it's on the copy with the yellow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I see.
Page 15 through 17, exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah, so it just, I think that's really a very far something. We don't have a space that even seems relevant for that. Okay, so we do have the special purchase of artwork from consignment or rental. So that would be for what I was saying for, if we had an art piece here and the art committee said, oh, we just really hate to see that go, we're getting toward the end of the 2 years. We want to see if we can find some funding for that, ask the council for funding for that. We'd like to purchase it. So that is the section for that. And it gives, obviously, it bypasses some of the other processes. We've already kind of selected it. So, yeah, the selection process for that is obviously much shorter. And then the city council, you would report it to the city council. Okay, we really want this piece. We've identified with staff a funding mechanism here. Will you approve that? Okay. And then we're on to definitions, which is pretty straightforward unless you have something in definitions that you notice that you don't like how it's defined. Which does happen. Is our art plan. So for next meeting, I will, and if anyone else has anything else that they think of after this meeting, please email it to me and try to be specific about which section it goes in so I can find it. I will bring back the full plan with all of noted, kind of like this, everything that we added. I'll take out the removals just so it's less cluttery, but to kind of get you a draft that looks like, yes, this is what we would like to do. If we have anything that's an addition, I will either put it in there kind of in a like a box or something so that you can look at it in the plan, or we'll just look at it on the site and refer to the page on the site so you can look at it. And then after that, I think that with those comments and discussion, we might be ready to have a real full draft to say, yes, let's send that to the city council. So that's exciting, because it's exciting that you've worked through this plan, and that does give us something, once it's approved, to actually say, thank you for coming, here's what we have, which is exciting. So, great job, everyone, really sticking with us and putting a lot of thought into it. You make my job.
I have a question on the next meeting.
Yes.
Should it be August?
That should be August.
Thank you. August 27th. Is there a reason we're doing 5:30?
That is just what the committee had decided on. I would not want to discuss that with this few of members. If we want to revisit that, I would just ask our city reporter and email out a little poll and see what works for people. Is it early for you for getting from work?
Just today.
Okay,
Um,
not normally though.
I'm hoping not. No.
Okay, well, just keep in touch with me
I will.
if there's a conflict, and then we do try to see if we can work on it, make it happen while keeping things consistent.
So August 27th at 5:30 is our next meeting?
Yeah, we still have one more business item
I'm
though,
sorry.
before we,
Art shop debrief.
yeah, so I just wanted to give people a chance to talk about how your art stuff went, what you saw, experienced, anything that you'd like to share about it. That's why I put it on here. So is no,
I was by the fire station. There wasn't that many people out. They came down my way. They only had like 3 people. Wasn't as busy as normal for the wine walk.
It was a lot less attendance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lower attendance. Yeah. Yeah. And that one's further down the road.
Yeah. I know a lot of people go down to Les Bob,
Yeah.
but in the museum, I mean, they come up the museum and come down, but even there wasn't that many people.
Yeah.
I had lots of people at the corner over here.
over here.
They were coming up from Crompton,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I was waving at people,
Okay.
and they would park and they would come over and
And there's a
talk.
shuttle, the shuttle was over here, that probably helped a little bit. Yeah.
So,
We
and
get first, yeah.
And I enjoyed telling people to check out the artists and go talk to the lady at the shop that did the Mary's Peak, because I love that piece. And
Yeah.
And they were so excited, and
Great,
it was really good. I had, for me,
good,
I had a couple of pieces of feedback.
yes.
One, are we going to have any kind of plaque or
Oh, yeah.
anything
Yes.
that says the name of the
Yes.
piece
Yeah,
and the
I had that.
artist?
Yep.
That was like, that was the thing that was missing,
Yes, those are. in
which I totally
progress.
didn't mind sharing, but I was like, oh, we gotta have that.
Yep,
And then the second thing, I was hoping that we would have some sort of follow-up with the artists where we send them a little, what do you call that? A questionnaire, but like a feedback report where we say, what went well with the process? What could we have done better? Just like come up with like maybe 4 or 5 simple questions that gives us some feedback directly from the artist. So the next time we do this,
did they have problems? What went well? What didn't go well?
yeah,
Have they, I know that I had 4 different people interested in having the artist over here do artwork for them.
Oh.
And I didn't have anything to give them to help contact the artist, and so.
well, the flyers have a QR code which has all their artist information, their website.
Well, I told
social
them,
media.
I gave them the flyer and said, try the
Okay.
QR code and
Yeah.
see. So I'm hoping, but
Okay.
they're like, well, why isn't there a plaque? So
Yeah.
thank you for
Mhm.
mentioning that.
Right.
'cause
Yeah.
that was-
Yes. Yep, those are, we're in the works and getting those right now. Yeah. And what specifically, feedback about which part of the process?
yeah, I was at Mary, and she goes by many names, and the Vicky, the artist who did that piece, was saying that she wanted to be able to give some feedback about the process of the piece getting installed. And she just had some constructive, positive feedback to give about that, like how the scheduling went and specifically. So I'm not sure, they just asking the artist in general, like, how did it go? The construction and getting it put in and all of that. And then feedback on like the reveal, like how the reveal happened. And again, like some of them have had a lot of experience. They have art in multiple different places and getting feedback on like how do other cities do it when they do it, the reveal.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. We did not, but I do want to clarify, we didn't have a reveal because
Right.
the committee did not come together and plan a reveal. So,
Yes, yeah,
Good.
so
So just-
should we
just-
do a reveal?
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah,
So,
so-
because,
I did think that the sip and stroll was a reveal. Yet the sip and stroll did not advertise anything about it, so that was a surprise. Like, as I talked about it with people who were going to sip and stroll, they were like, I didn't hear anything about that. I don't know anything about that. And I was
yeah,
like,
I don't know what happened this year because they did advertise for us and they had us on their map.
okay.
We didn't
It's
necessarily,
been up before the event, maybe?
they did before the event, so I just don't know in general.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what happened with advertising control and,
yeah.
the city, we did as a city, we advertised, we put it on the Philomath groups, Corvallis groups. So, working in the public sector, I can say that I've worked for, I don't know, 17 years now. There is you cannot find the sweet spot of
Right.
where to advertise or put word out it's very, very hard. You do, so I will say that. But I also will say that I like your idea because maybe the artists have ideas for where we would advertise something like that. You know what I
That
mean?
might be a good,
They-
yep, that's a good.
They may say, when
question.
we've gone to other places, they go to the local art galleries and put up a whatever, because people who visit those galleries are more likely to be interested. So I think that's also a good question, is how we got the word out about it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. I like that. That's a good idea. I will say, as far as like installation and coordination, again, we don't have, like, I was facilitating the conversations with the artists. I don't do installation and coordination of art. I have a lot of other just very operational jobs here at the city.
Responsibilities.
So, it was a little clunky, but also it's just not something that we do. And the artists, most of the artists, their feedback to me was, this is not something you do. This is a new art program.
Yeah.
You're like, this is great. And I did defer to them. So I did have one artist that helped to take the lead on trying to help with installation, get things coordinated. Because again, I'm not going to go out there and help you put the piece or weld the piece. So you all kind of generally, so that is something that I tried to do, was say, hey, let's get you, there's only 4 of you. Let's get you together so you can have conversations and talk. Different people participated at a different level in that conversation.
Sure.
So, but I know from my own part in the process that there are a lot of things that could have just been smoother, easier. The artists had different needs. So some of them were surprised that we didn't have something that was written in our call for artists available. But we also had emailed that the artists needed to let us know what things that they needed for the installation process, because that was another thing. I thought maybe they would need these things, and then 3 of them said, we don't need that. One of them couldn't affix their piece to the metal, like do the welding. And so that was the whole thing, because we'd already we're ready to put the metal piece on there for the welding. So it was a lot on my part. It was an immense amount of coordination, discussions. They were all so great, but it was a lot. It was a lot of work. So from my feedback, it's an immense amount of work for someone to just take on as an extra thing,
Added thing onto my other daily
it
responsibilities.
was a lot of work. So, for my feedback, that's what I would say is that if we are doing things like this, there needs to be a better understanding of how much time that takes staff on the other side. Yeah, because when you're doing new programs like this, that often happens. Sometimes things are very light and easy, and sometimes they take a lot of time. So that's kind of my feedback about it, but I love the idea of just reaching out, and they've all been so great, and I know that they'll be more than happy to give us feedback and help us,
Yeah.
like from a helping perspective.
Yes.
That's how we learn. Okay. Well, thank you, and I really appreciate everyone that
Oh, okay. Do I have
was
time to
able.
mention one more thing?
Absolutely.
I got a little bit of feedback. It sounds like the rest of you have too, from public people who live in Philomath,
Yeah.
which was great. And so it just makes me think about, and we look forward to when we start thinking about permanent peer purchases and how important it is to the people of Philomath that the criteria that we follow really represents the culture of Philomath, is what I heard repetitively of like how art pieces just need to continue to be a representation of what we have here in the small town, and historically, I heard that a lot too.
Okay.
How
Yeah, I wonder-
the representation of the history of Philomath and
what
it being
part
a
of the
timber
history?
town
Oh,
and
timber
all
town.
of that.
Okay.
I wonder about, I just tacking on, just a noticing that some of the pieces in there, they're just two pieces I wish I could flip, just because in the current position, just driving by, they're not super visible because of the background of it. And you know, something
Yeah.
we wouldn't have thought of,
Right.
and couldn't have thought of, and but like that, the fenced off place over here with metal fencing, and then that piece that, it doesn't have a nice, clear background, and then the red piece. Hard to distinguish the piece from the plinth.
I will say the artist was so happy with that choice of space.
Okay,
She,
it's good.
she said, this is the perfect place for my piece. So I will say that from her perspective,
Fire station.
Yeah.
that's why I say is because I felt like it was a little bit of a conversation, spark, so to speak. But she did like her spot. I didn't hear feedback from anyone else. We know, of course, that Vicky did like the spot. It's in her studio, which I actually think is great because she is downtown and she can talk about the program and be
Right there.
it's really easy.
I did get the flyer.
Good.
And she was, wanted to introduce herself, and I was just, and then everybody I talked to, I'm like, yeah, if you would like to meet the artist, just go to the
Yeah, that's
studio.
great.
And like 5 people just like took off because they wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so, I was thrilled, and she told me when I was there that she was so happy that it was right there.
Yeah, good. And Vicky did express support that, obviously everyone's limited on time to put into the art committee and the program, but definitely is a supporter and wants to continue to, if we do have flyers or we do have something going on, we'll help support as being, and I know Activity also has been so great about helping support things as well, so great. Well, I think it went well for our first event, and it's exciting that we have some pieces here that have been installed, so good job, everyone. Okay. So yeah, our next meeting is in August.
I'm
And
glad I don't want to come back.
thank you for noticing that. Thank you.
Is there any other business that we know? We ready to adjourn? Then we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:29 PM, July 23rd, 2026, City of Philomath Art Committee. Have a great day and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.